Live.
You're
Live.
We can swear, right?
Yeah, we can swear.
All right.
Say it right now. Say a cuss word right now.
Fuck it. We're doing it live.
Good evening and welcome to episode 101 of Pillar Talk. We are in here. Really scary. I'm going to bring my scary voice with Justin Bustle from Tales from the Podcast and 2G1C. All right, man. So what's up, Justin? Thank you for coming here and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first off, man, thanks for fucking having me, dude. It's a pleasure. I've listened to you guys for a while, and obviously being, same kind of area and everything. It's nice to be on a local show, especially in studio. It's really cool. My name is Justin. I do some podcasting. I do some writing. I do a little bit of everything. I've produced a little bit of film. I've done some stuff for a TV show. Basically a little bit of all of it.
So what have you done like in the industry? Like tell me everything.
Okay. Well, my main podcast that I started off is called Tales from the Podcast, which is obviously a full thing just based off of Tales from the Crypt, where I'm going in complete order of all 7 seasons. And then I'm going to be doing I've been doing a film in between, including the films from the 70s, the Amicus ones,
Okay.
which a lot of people don't get a chance to watch, which are underrated. I strongly suggest anybody check those out. But we're going to do the cartoon, and there was even a short-lived game show based off of Tales from the Crypt. Yeah. So I'm touching all aspects of it. My other show, 2G1C, which is definitely a play off of what you think it is. Or if you spell it out, it's actually 2 guys, 1 crypt. And me and my buddy Chuck Nasty, we go sit down and we chat about a random horror flick or even a movie kind of semi-related to horror. We've done some really cheesy ones. And like I was telling you before the show, man, we're even doing something like Scooby-Doo this Friday.
Yeah. So that's cool. So Tales from the Podcast has an ending then, right?
Well, I picked the name Tales from the Podcast for a reason, because there's Tales from the Dark Side. I can take this and twist it around to almost any kind of horror anthology show, but my main concept is kind of focusing in on the horror aspect of film and TV.
Okay. So Tales from the Podcast doesn't have an end if you're doing, because you can open it up to other ones.
No, not until somebody kills me or kind of forces me off the line.
Right. Okay.
I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. That's for damn sure.
Okay. And then, so what season are you on right now?
Well, right now, I'm in April will actually be the 4-year anniversary of this show. I technically started off doing found footage radio, which is all based off of found footage horror flicks, which lasted a while even before this. But I'm on season 5 right now. I'm almost midway through it. I got till season 7 and then 3 seasons of a cartoon to go through as well.
Okay.
And doing it every other week, it lasts a while. That's for sure.
So how do you do it? So do you watch the show on air, or do you just explain the show on air?
Well, unfortunately, because I do live video stuff and I really don't want copyright infringement. I'm sure, we all in this kind of world kind of know exactly what that's about. We've all made that mistake more than once.
Yeah.
But, we go ahead and I usually have a guest on. And I've had some pretty famous celebrities from the show, as well as just fellow podcaster, indie artists, just people in the horror realm in general.
Okay.
And we'll go through, talk about it. And one of the cool things that we do that not a lot of places do, and none of them before me did. There are a couple of Tales from the Crypt podcasts now, but one of the cool things we do is we actually go and compare it to its original source material, which is a comic book from the 1950s. Which is the reason comic books are the way they are nowadays, because, EC kind of brought on the entire comic code trials and put in place the comic book code.
So Tales from the Crypt was based on comics?
Yes, from the 50s. Yes, from EC Comics.
So it was explaining comics?
Basically,
giving life to the comics?
Yes, but they were taking them from the 50s and adapting them for the 90s, which looking at nowadays is... in the 90s, it was like, oh, wow, they made that so much better than the 50s.
Yeah.
And even now, going back and watching some of them, there's some cringeworthy things in there. You know what I mean?
But you can also like make a new one right now in 2020 with like the new.
Funny you say that. Tales from the Crypt and the Crypt Keeper name just got done with all of their stuff in the trial through the Joel Silver Holdings. Joel Silver was one of the main producers for the TV show, and those rights for the names just finally resorted back to the Gaines family, which they're the family that did the comic books. Unfortunately, HBO and I think WB has likeness rights to the way the Crypt Keeper looked and stuff like that. So even if they did do it, it would be a little bit different.
It would have to be just a
yeah.
new Crypt Keeper, but you can make the
Right.
same looking one. Somebody make it different.
Well, he didn't look like that in the comic book at all. I mean, they changed the way he looked entirely from the
Tales
comics.
from the Crypt was a comic book too.
Yes, and
Was it explained in comic books?
well, yeah. Like Tales from the Crypt, the show was actually based off of all of the EC titles, so it wasn't just Tales from the Crypt. It was shock suspense stories, crime suspense stories, Vault of Horror. There were multiple titles that were done by EC Publications.
Tales of the Crypt was the umbrella.
Tales from the Crypt is what HBO decided to name the show.
Panic Terror Film says Tales of Shock and Terror is a comic book that's going to change the comic book industry.
Yes. That is probably the artist for the comic book, Drew Moreland. And amazing artist. She actually went to school over at the Douglas Center for the Arts over in Pittsburgh, which is the same school that Tom Savini does all of her stuff.
Okay.
Which he's the guy who did the remake of the Night of the Living Dead movie. He was also in Dusk Till Dawn as the guy with the gun by his belt buckle.
Okay.
If you ever saw that movie, he's pretty prolific in the horror realm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he's making a comic book now?
No, he teaches out there. She went to school where he teaches.
She got taught by him?
Well, she went through all the filmmaking and the art classes through him and everything.
Okay, yes. Okay, dude.
So we got a pretty good artist behind
That's your artist?
Yes, Drew Moreland.
And then so Tales, what was the name of that?
The name of the comic book is called Tales of Shock and Terror.
That's yours?
Yes, that is mine. Yes.
That's the one that's too scary to...
Well,
that you said
it's kind of funny because the one of the main stories in it, one I wrote called Mask, was actually a pretty gruesome story, and it put our artist into a dark place, is what she was able to tell me from it. There was some brutal murders in there that would happen in a certain way that, to say the least, hopefully you guys check out the Kickstarter and can take a look at it yourself, because it's not what you would expect from a comic book nowadays.
So,
funny thing about comic books is that's how Brain Jerk started. We wanted to start a comic book, and we don't know. We figured out we don't know how to draw, so we're like, well, what else can we do right now until we can figure out how to pay someone to draw?
Right, and that can be expensive. I've seen people pay well over $4,000 to get an artist for a comic book. And the thing with my whole comic book and everything with Tales of Shock and Terror is not only is it, a comic book with an amazing artist, but every single thing is done by hand. We did not do anything digital on the comic book, which is way different than what majority of comic books that come out these days. Everything is done by hand. The penciling, the inking, the coloring on the covers. One of the covers is actually... if you go and check out the Kickstarter, on there is actually some time-lapse videos where one of the covers is actually full-on hand painted.
No shit.
Yeah. We went all out on this, and we're trying to kind of just basically make the best comic book that we possibly can.
So, and then it's just going to be one comic book.
Well, I mean, this is issue number 1. We're hoping to do more. We just got to see how it goes. You know what I mean? Like, you can only keep going if people are supporting and checking into it, and kind of just adding into it and everything.
Let me know when it goes out. I think I definitely want one, like,
right,
to hang up in the studio.
The Kickstarter is live right now.
Yep.
It's going to be ending on April 2nd. It takes a few weeks to get the funding and a few weeks for printing, but as soon as that's done, the actual comic book will be printed and out, and I'll be shipping out all of the Kickstarter orders then. We got super lucky, man. First couple of days. I mean, this Kickstarter went live on the 16th. We were already past 150% funded. We're working on our stretch goals. Our publisher, Cutthroat Comics, which is ran by Josh Nealis. If you guys ever go to the Pop Fest and stuff like that around here, he does that a lot with a lot of his comic books. That's how I met him, actually. And In fact, one of the stretch goals, if we get up to $700 on this and get it funded a little bit further, you're going to be getting a free digital copy of one of his comic books as well. We got sketch cards in there, and if we go past all the stretch goals that we have already, I'm actually in talks with somebody to get some trading cards made, which is a pretty fun way to do it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Ron Purdy says, I know that one of the stories in the comic is amazing, all caps. And then Panic Terror says, my hand is still recovering.
Yeah. She actually did the entire book in like 2 months, drawing the entire thing. And
no shit.
Yeah, we're talking like 7 to 13, 14 hours on
we
a
need
page.
we need to talk to her on this podcast.
Well, she lives close to Pittsburgh, so
well,
I know she has family up north.
Call me on the phone. We can do an online one, dude.
Yeah, I can definitely get that set up.
That's
for sure.
Sweet.
Yeah, she's amazing, and Ron helped me with some writing on one of the stories too. He's a great friend. He's done quite a bit. I'm excited to see though where it's all going to go. One of the stories in there that he was part of was the Weather the Storm story, which that one of the cool things with the comic book is like we have our regular cover, but we're doing 3 variant covers because there's 3 short stories in this comic book. So we thought, what better for variant covers than to have one specific cover kind of based off of the 3 covers. So
it could what? So there'd be 3 different covers.
There's 4 covers because there's the A cover, the B, C, and D cover. So the A cover is kind of reminiscent of the Tales from the Crypt and EC kind of style.
Okay.
So, and I'm sure that
old school.
Yeah. Very, very traditional kind of looking, and that's the one that's hand painted. Cover B is the one based off of Mask, which has a man. It has like a kind of like a warmth tone to it, which kind of gives it the color of the mask itself, which is like a burlap color. And it is a picture of the killer from the comic book bashing somebody's head in and their eyeball flying out, with the only coloring on there being the blood.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet.
The next cover for Weather the Storm has a like a snowy forest setting with some bloody footprints going, and to say the least, it's kind of it's simple, but it's one of those things, especially in the horror world, where less can be more. And it hints at, like when you see that cover, you're like, oh, there's a creature in this, but what is it? And the third or the fourth cover, D, is titled over the story called Pig-Headed, which that cover is actually a really fun one. And I will say, of all of them, that's probably one of the more interesting covers in general, because there's a lot of like little hints and Easter eggs on that cover. So what they wanted to do with this one is we basically did like a CBGB style restroom in the middle of nowhere. Okay. And the thing is when you see those kinds of like old school like punk bathroom stalls, there's always writing all over the place. Mm-hmm. And to say the least, if you really go in there and start diving into some of the writing on there, everything's real. So there might be phone numbers you can call. There might be little hints at little things in there, but it's a pretty cool cover when it comes to those kinds of things.
Where you can like delve into the, like, I know this is going to happen, or I've seen this,
Oh yeah.
That's what my son likes to do. He likes to find the Easter eggs.
Yeah, that's basically, yeah.
Dad, dude, I just got an Easter egg and I did it in 36 minutes. I said, what? What is that? Dad, it usually takes 54. Oh. Well, okay, dude, sweet. What's the Easter egg? Like, dude, I found those when I was a kid. The Easter Bunny dropped them off.
Yeah, it's way different nowadays. That's how it was when I was a kid too, man. We didn't have those kinds of things till probably like the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, I don't even, and apparently they've been in all video games all time.
Yeah, well, let's just be honest. We were dumb when we were younger.
No, dude, I just wanted to shoot a couple people, dude.
Right, I wanted to play Perfect
when
Dark.
You were looking at them from the top of the city is stupid. So
yeah.
What got you into horror?
Well, it's kind of funny because I've talked about it on the show a few times, and to be 100% honest, it was Ernest Scared Stupid.
No way.
I swear, man.
My dad loves those shows, dude.
I was
those
like,
movies.
I was probably about 4 years old, and Trandor, the troll in there, scared the shit out of me. And a lot of people don't realize it, but the trolls that were actually used in that film were repurposed masks from Killer Clowns from Outer Space. So those masks were scary as shit back in the day. And I remember being pretty little, like shooting dart guns at TVs and stuff when I was watching that, because Trandor just scared the shit out of me, man.
Yeah.
And then from there, I got into I'm not sure if you're old enough to remember the black boxes, but to say the least, there might have been a black box in my house that was able to descramble HBO, and I was able to watch stuff like Tales from the Crypt for free.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of an old school thing. Your older audience will definitely know what I'm talking about there.
Yeah.
But once that hit, I got into other comic books like Demonic Toys, which was a short-lived
So
comic.
you got into
book.
comic books is
Yeah.
what it was originally. You got into the horror comics.
Basically all of it. Like anything that got gruesome and nasty was something that really intrigued me. And I know it sounds messed up, man, but it's like, you get that thing that you like, you're passionate. And when you're passionate about something, you search it out more.
Yeah. But like, it's either two ways to grow up, like in that serial killer or comic book writer, podcaster and everything. So you picked a really good one. You picked a good way.
It could have been way different. Imagine this interview the other way.
Yeah,
be like, all right,
how long have you been in prison?
Through the glass.
Yeah. I ate that dude's nose, dude.
Oh man, it was tasty.
Yeah, and that's since you were a kid. See, I liked horror, but I never really. I don't want to watch it as an adult. When I was a kid, it scares me. But now,
Wookie says Comic Gates loves indie artists.
Who
Comic
does?
Gates. Comics Gates.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, man.
That's fuck, I don't even know what I was talking about before this.
Horror movies.
Yeah, horror. I never really liked them. Like I watched all of Michael Myers. The Jasons got pretty stupid after a while. Freddy versus Jason is my favorite horror movie.
Right.
But like I would never really Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's the only reason why I watched the new one recently.
Yeah, that's a fun one. With a lot of the horror movies, man, it's like yeah, you got the horror movie itself. So like, for instance, a film like Cannibal Holocaust, which is one of my all-time favorite films. It's about it's like a found footage style movie done, in the 70s. I believe it's an Italian film, but the way it was done was kind of like, all right, we're going to take these people out to an island and help these this tribe of people, and shit goes all crazy, to say the least. People start dying. There's real animal deaths in the film. There's nasty, brutal rape scene in it. I mean, the film itself is very, very scary. That one messed me up for a little bit, but the thing that really got me into something like that was some of the backstories. So like you're sitting there watching, it's like, holy shit, this is nuts. But then you're reading on it and you realize, oh wow, the director actually went to prison. The artist had to go and break their contract, come out from hiding to show that, hey, this was all fake. So like some of the backstories and then when you get into like
so he went to prison for that movie.
Yes. And he got released, but all the artists had to break their contracts and come out and tell them like, hey, this was all fake. It was a movie, because it was filmed like a documentary, kind of like Blair Witch, but 30 years before Blair Witch. So imagine like that whole kind of filming style done back then. And it scared the hell out of people. It got banned for a very long time because of it too.
Shit, people thought Blair Witch was real, and I thought it was crazy that people thought that from the very jump. My stepmom was a full believer that was real.
Right, yeah. Eduardo Sanchez, one of the co-creators of that, he did a great job with their advertising budget, kind of pushing it as a real story, and that's one of the things that really got that one going.
Okay.
Too bad he didn't do it for the second Blair Witch movie. That was a Book of Evil. Man, that one, or no, Book of Shadows. Sorry, that one was pretty bad.
Pretty bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you but you're telling me this is a way more brutal Blair Witch project.
Oh, this makes Blair Witch look like it's Sesame Street.
Okay, so it's way more brutal, super more brutal.
Oh yeah,
but it looked they wanted to do the documentary, and that could have been like the most epic horror film of all time to this day if they didn't get so.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, like they go to help a tribe. Tribe turns out to be cannibalistic.
Okay.
And they're killing everybody. In fact, I'm not sure if you probably didn't watch it if you're not into horror films, but Eli Roth kind of did like a tribute with Green Inferno with it. And Green Inferno is a newer kind of adaptation of that film. Even was really light in comparison.
Really?
Yeah.
And so they go help a tribe and they're cannibals in Green Inferno too?
Yes.
Same thing. Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, it's kind of like them paying ode to it.
The most fucked up movie I've ever watched was, I don't even know if I consider it, I guess it's kind of horror. I Piss on Your Grave, or
I
Spit on Your Grave.
Which
yes.
one? The original or the
original?
Yes,
the original.
Yes. The classic rape revenge film.
That was, but it was gruesome.
Yeah, I've actually seen all 5, the remakes and everything.
Are they good? Any of them good?
I mean, it's basically kind of the same stories being retold. They're in different perspective, different characters. But I mean, as a horror fan, I kind of search out a lot of these kind of movies, even those kind of like exploitation type films like that.
That's what you would call it. It wouldn't be a horror.
I mean, it's definitely of the horror genre, but I mean, it's specifically it's a rape revenge film for sure. But I mean,
you can't really. Is that a?
You can Google rape revenge films; it will pop up a whole list. Yes, it is a subgenre.
Any of them are as gruesome as that one? That one, I thought that one was
that's
pretty...
one of the more original ones for sure.
Okay, so that one was the one. Okay,
yeah, the original one, yeah, and it was pretty sick. And they actually did make a part 2 of that one. In more recent years.
Dude, she stuck a shotgun up the dude's ass and he shot the other guy.
He deserved it.
Through his, I know, but it was like her getting raped and like all that, and then
that scene lasted a long time. It was
gruesome.
Yeah,
it was gruesome, and then she literally killed every one of them in the way that they assisted or something like that, and it was. I don't know, bro. That was to me.
It's intense.
I was like in shock, like loss of words after the movie when I first watched it. Like me and my friends watched it together, and we didn't talk the whole time. We watched it. We were done. We didn't talk for a while, and then we did our own things, and
it's like, kind of hard to have a conversation about it.
Weird movie, dude.
Right. Well, I mean, like,
but like you feel redemption at the end because she clears them all out.
Right, but it's still hard to feel good for anything.
And then you're saying
no
like,
good feeling at
first
the end.
of all, one traumatic event happens to her, and then she kills 5 people. That's not traumatic, you know?
No, there's no happy ending. She's still an extremely damaged person by the end of the film.
Ron Purdy says, I love Spit on Your Grave with Joe Bob Briggs commentary.
He would. And I know you're not the hugest horror fan, but man, Joe Bob, if you guys are a fan of horror and you go check out Shudder, which is a horror streaming service, Joe Bob is definitely one of the best people out there for doing any kind of commentary on film.
I wouldn't say I'm not a Rob Zombie. I wouldn't say I'm not a horror fan. I do like it, but like my favorite, like The Devil's Rejects was that movie.
Right.
That was a cool one. It was just. It wasn't like the person, because like it seems like the Freddy or not Freddy, Michael Myers is just a regular dude, right? But he dies almost every time, and he doesn't die.
Well, that's the same thing with that. Like you don't really know if he's a regular dude, and like there's so many different adaptations too. I mean, they did like a remake thing, and now that you're supposed to ignore all of them. And one of the cool things with this new one is like what you got Green and McBride doing all the stuff for these new ones, and it's crazy to see the writing chops on these people. Because are you a comedy fan by chance?
Yeah, that's okay. Danny McBride.
Yeah, he's the one writing these new ones. The new Halloween trilogy. No, Danny McBride's one of the main guys behind it.
You're kidding me?
No,
that dude is one of the funniest.
Exactly.
Fucking little. He's not. He could
no,
probably
he's fucking hilarious.
He could probably do a lead role, but he is one of the best supporting actors. The other guy, the black guy with the afro, it's usually in the same movies.
The guy from The Office. He was
Robinson, Charles Robinson, or not?
I don't think that's
Robinson is his last name.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
but I think those two guys, like if it's a funny movie and they're not in it, like you missed your chance.
Right. But you'd be surprised how many funny movies that he wrote. Because he
wrote those too.
Well, he
Or
didn't
some
write
of them?
didn't write those ones, but you know, he does do a lot of writing. He's a great person. Like me personally, when it comes to McBride, like Eastbound and Down and Vice Principals are like
Yep.
two of my favorite shows.
And
he's great.
Yeah, he's
Right.
not bad of
But
a
then he wrote
fucking-
Halloween. So just keep that in mind.
You would just think because he plays the dumb role on most of the roles and shit like that.
That's
and then,
the joys of acting.
yeah,
It's
and
acting.
and that's the craziest. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
and-
it's
and-
great. I love it.
And you like horror, but you're good at comedy because you can grow a mullet and talk stupid.
Well, let's be honest. That's a pretty fucking sexy mullet.
Sometimes it is in some movies. Like I was just talking about Land of the Lost the other day. That's one of
another
the
good
best
one.
movies in the world.
I love it. In fact, I love every version of Land of the Lost. I'm a horrible nerd when it comes to like sci-fi type movies like that as well.
Oh, there was more of those?
Oh, dude, they've been remaking Land of the Lost films since like the 50s.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a bunch of different versions of it. A lot of TV movies, but I've even went as far as like searching over those. Like Land of the Lost, like you're talking about like even The Lost World, Jurassic Park is kind of based off of the same. It's a book originally.
Okay.
And that book's been adapted just, countless times throughout history.
And how does that work? So like say somebody reads your comic book.
Yeah.
And then it's some director or whatever, somebody who wants to make it like
We're actually in
big.
talks about that already. Because
So
our
what-
artist runs Panic Terror Films.
Okay.
So we got really lucky with that, and we're trying to wait till we are able to push out like a second book and have a few things and kind of make like our own version of like a horror anthology film,
Okay.
kind of like based off of like Trick or Treat or even Creep Show. Those are
Okay.
horror anthology films.
Yeah. And so okay, but back to the question.
All right.
So now I'm the director of the I can make this into a movie. What do I do? Like
Well-
for instance, with the Land of the Lost, so many people redid it. Do they have to buy rights to do it?
Yeah,
Or-
there will be licensing fees for something like that. Yeah, for
so
sure.
you would have to
You would have to contact, because I don't think the artist himself is still alive. So you would have to contact like
his business or people or
the
whatever.
executor of the estate. So who it's usually a family member who owns all the property, and they're able to license it out.
So his daughter. You got to pay his daughter for the license. But
hypothetically,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
We'll
his
just say
daughter or
that.
his son or whoever the
Right.
fuck, his wife, whatever.
Like for instance, with one of the biggest horror icons of all time, Vincent Price. His daughter actually does run a lot of the stuff for him still. And he's been passed away for quite a while now, but she still is able to go and push things, and she even wrote a book about him. And I mean, so we're still getting stuff kind of based off of some of the things that
Okay.
he was even doing.
And she was there every day and fucking knew his mind. So maybe she's the closest thing to
yeah.
fucking making his shit.
Even going back to what I'm about with Tales from the Crypt, William Gaines, the guy who had the whole company, took it over from his dad. His dad started the comic book as EC, but it was started off as educational comics. So in the 40s, it was actually Bible stories before his son William Gaines took it over, and then that's when it became horror comic books.
He fucking rebelled.
Yeah, and
He
then
fucking rebelled, dude.
not only that, but when Marvel and DC kind of attacked EC Comics and everything, and that's how the comic code trial started and everything, is because EC Comics at the time in the 50s, in the mid 50s, was actually outselling every other comic book company out there at the time.
The
So-
Bible comics.
Well, no, at the time they were horror.
EC was
Yeah,
horror.
they went from educational comics to entertaining comics, and then once that happened,
was it only horror they were doing, or was it
horror and war stories.
okay?
So like, I have the full run of like Aces High, which is like airplane World War II fighting stories, which are
Okay.
pretty cool. They're all different. It's but basically everything was horror, war, death related for the most
Okay.
part.
Okay.
But after they got attacked and kind of got forced out of being able to use certain words like fear, haunt, crypt, death, where they basically had to retract all of their titles, and a lot of those old comic books got burned back in the day. But after that, they were like, okay, well, fuck everybody, fuck the comic book industry, and they switched over to a magazine. Once that happened, EC Comics became Mad Magazine. So that's the entirely same company. Yeah. It's a very, very crazy thing, but I mean, they are one of the most influential writers and companies of all fucking time when you really break it down.
Oh, okay. So Mad TV or
Mad Magazine, which
Mad
is
Magazine,
Mad TV
yeah.
is based
So
off
Mad Magazine came from a Bible.
Comics. Originally,
Bible
yes.
comic.
Originally, yes. It all started off with educational comics as Bible stories.
Fuck what everybody taught me in my life, dude. You can do anything with anything, bro. Turn it around right there, dude. Undertaker can come back as fucking Shaun White next week, and he's back.
You're talking to me about drama movies or something. I don't know a fucking thing.
Right,
you want to talk about comic books from the 50s? I got you.
Dude, okay, so what was that comic? What'd you say it was a comic? The comic embargo?
The comic book code.
Comic book code.
Yeah, so that basically, it was basically stating back then that these comics were too gruesome for kids, and they had senators attacking it, and
so it was an embargo.
Well, I mean, well, kind of in a way, but if you go back and read some of the comic books, let's be honest, they were too much for kids. They really were. But
were only comic books for kids back in the day?
Well, I mean, that's how they were kind of promoted out as.
Comics and cartoons were meant for kids back in the day.
Yeah, back when they were called funny books. Yep, that's basically
so we
how
couldn't
it was.
have had adult comics.
No, not at all.
Wow, you're a popular guy during my podcast. No, I'm just kidding.
I silenced it.
Yeah. And then so they said that what you're writing is too bad to produce comics, and DC and Marvel did that to them.
Well, DC and Marvel backed it. So, for instance, one of the newer Marvel films that Sony's going to be putting out called Morbius, the Living Vampire. They got around a lot of the horror aspects of that by making him a living vampire, and that is all kind of going off of the comic code. That's why he is a living vampire. That's how that whole just to kind of bring it to terms that you might understand.
So they have to produce their movies in the comic code too?
Well, no, the comic code itself really doesn't exist anymore. It's not around
Fuck the way that comic code, dude.
For real, it was bullshit. It
would you wouldn't have been able to produce your comic?
No, I was talking to a buddy of mine on one of his shows, and I would be honored if this got to the point of EC Comics. If this comic book caused such an uproar where I had moms going out and burning my book out, I would be excited. That's what I'm kind of going. I'm pushing the limits of it. I'm using that freedom of speech to the fucking maximum.
That's what Nate Thompson said. Me and Nate Thompson went around hanging posters for cult affairs. Right. Dude, I'm in that fucking movie. That was a great movie. We put a lot of work into it. Dude, Nate did a wonderful job.
Yeah, I had him on to talk about it.
And I was fucking just promoting the movie. I just wanted to hang my name up.
Right.
Let me hang my name up in your store. And then it got a lot of not backlash, but people were unsettled about it and were talking about it because of the poster had upside down cross on it.
They were talking about it.
Nate was distraught a little bit, and I said, Nate, is that a good thing or that's pretty good? And he was like, oh, dude, it is pretty good. That's what you're supposed to do. Right. You're not supposed to be okay if you're a horror,
If you're not pushing any boundaries and nobody's talking about what you're doing, then you're not getting noticed.
Yep. And then, I mean, everybody's all mad about it, but look, he's getting interviewed by the news. He's
he's killing it. He's doing a great job. Mm-hmm. I'm happy I was able to get him on at an early stage in his career, and really get to the point where I could say, yeah, he's a friend, he's a good guy, and I was already in talks with him recently about having him back on again to talk about some of his newer stuff coming up.
Oh yeah, dude.
He told me if my comic book was printed fast enough, he'd actually like me to go sell it when he's doing his thing in April.
The premiere.
Unfortunately, my book won't be printed by then. But yeah, it'd be really close.
Is that motherfucker done? It's all the way done, but you just need to get them.
Well, I don't know fully if his film is done yet because
No, your comic book.
Oh, my comic book is finished. It is 100% good to go. It is funded. We're just waiting for the campaign to end because realistically,
Give me the raw copy. No, I'm just kidding.
that's on my computer,
Yeah.
and well, I got it on my phone too. But I can show you some stuff. But basically, with this comic book is like with the Kickstarter and running it all the way we are, the more funds we're able to raise up front for this comic book, the more copies we can purchase and able to sell outside of the Kickstarter as well. And realistically, with any product that you're actually going to sell, how are you going to get a cheaper price? You got to buy more. So the better the Kickstarter does, the more copies I can buy and the more stuff I can do for other people afterwards. I will say though, covers B, C, and D are only going to be available on the Kickstarter and on the rare occasion that I'm doing a signing somewhere, I might bring some out, but we're not going to be promoting those ones. So I mean, if those are the kinds of things that you're into and having those rare variant covers, it's definitely worthwhile to check out the Kickstarter. And I made all the pledges and everything pretty cheap on there too. I mean, if you're having money issues and you can't afford the comic book or the shipping, we went as low as $4 for a digital copy, which doesn't cost anything in shipping. So for $4, you get the digital copy once the comic book's printed. For $5, you can get cover A. For $10, you can get any of the variant covers. My personal favorite is the all bundle package where you get all 4 covers for $25, which, you obviously there's shipping in there, but
but it's 4 comic books.
It's 4 comic books. Yes.
All different covers.
All 4 covers. Yes. And
that's
then
a fucking killer deal.
We even got even better deals because we got dealer incentive rates, which we have.
That's your first comic book, dude. That's cool.
Well, it's cool to say that we've sold the dealer incentive rate, which means they're buying multiple copies of every cover. So we've got that far with it. I mean, we're really pushing it. We're trying our best to get this as far out there so we can do more.
So what
people.
Are you gonna do? You're gonna buy all the covers, one
Me?
of each?
Well, I mean, technically, I'm gonna be buying all of them. I'm gonna be buying lots of covers.
Like, are you gonna put 4 on your wall? Because
well, I definitely plan on getting and I'm not sure how familiar you are with the comic book world. Obviously, at least a little bit. I plan on at least getting them. I'm gonna get mine slabbed.
What's that?
Where you send them into CGC, they grade them and they put them into the plastic. Yeah,
that's cool.
So, and then I'll put them on my wall. I got a few slab comics at home, and
so what they seal it like really good.
Yeah. And in fact, that's how you kind of get like your more valuable covers and stuff. So, like for instance, Tales from the Crypt issue, or not, sorry, Tales from the Crypt, but like Crime Suspense Stories issue number 22 is one of the more rare covers, and that's actually one of them that they actually used during the comic book trials, and that has a picture of a man holding a woman's head that's detached from her body. And that cover right now, graded out of like a 5.5 out of 10, will still fetch you in between $6,000 and $7,000. So, the grading on these comic books can really change the price. I've seen some of these Tales from the Crypt books go over 30 grand.
They grade it for you.
Yes. So like if you're in a trading card, you can get like a PSA grading on it. Same thing for comic books, and they put it in the case so you can't take it out. So you won't be able to read it, but you'll have it graded. So, say hypothetically, this comic book does really good. I'm able to even go as far as like maybe making a movie somewhere down in the future. Okay. If something like that happens and this comic book gets really, really well, I will have a slab cover, which will be worth more money because it's already graded.
And if you send it in brand fucking new, it's graded A.
Well, I mean, I've sent some in brand new and they'll only get like a 9.8. So like it's really tedious process. If the printing's off by a centimeter, it can change the grading.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's lots of factors.
Isn't that more rare though? When the printing's off on the money,
not when it comes to grading, because they're trying to get the perfect kind of copy. Yes.
So you can send a fucking freshly printed copy in there, and they're like, fucking
I could open the box up, hand it right to them, and it might not get a 10.
Fuck you. Fuck you, grading system.
I don't think I've ever actually seen a 10 before in my life. So, I mean, it's one of those things.
I'm going to tell them it's brand new. I'm going to send the box right to you.
Right.
And if it don't come back 10, fuck you.
Ron says if a comic book has been touched by human hands, it's never more than a 9.8.
Yep.
Also, Chuck Daniels says, "Hey JB, our fearless leader.
You're shitting
Chuck.
me. They know that you fucking touched it.
Yeah.
How?
Fingerprints,
Oil
buddy.
on your hands, yes. And Chuck is the
I'll wipe
co-host
that
of my
bitch.
show. No, it don't matter, man.
Then
Like,
you'll smear them.
it's just like PSA for cards, man. Have you ever seen a perfect graded 10?
I never see. I don't do that.
Well,
I collected Pokemon cards, but I mean, I got a Charizard, a Ghastly Hunter, Gengar. I got a whole bunch of cards. They're in plastic, and I grade them 10 out of 10.
Right.
Personally,
too bad PSA wouldn't.
yeah, I touched them a lot.
Right. What I need you to do is start working for CGC and grade my comic books.
I need to infiltrate that
Right.
and only give your comic
Right.
books 10.
I would love that. You know,
Yeah.
they do the same thing for video games too, because you can even go and get classic video games graded nowadays. So it's a pretty.
Oh, you only got 2
crazy world.
scratches on it. That's fucking. That's a 9.3.
Well, I think the original version of Super Mario Brothers, sealed in the plastic, was like a 9.5, was fetching close to like $800,000. So I mean,
Fuck you.
Yeah,
It's a lie. That's a dude.
I'm telling you, man. Us collectors are a crazy breed of people.
Well, you showed me a shelf that's worth how much in your house?
A lot.
A lot of money.
Yeah. But to be fair, there's a lot of stuff on that shelf.
Yes, to somebody, to the naked eye, it's cool. It's cool decoration. I like that little shit.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I don't fucking see the value in any of that. That's
right.
To me, like.
I know which ones are worth which amounts.
Yes, and that's but like to a collector, that's gold. Holy shit, you got a golden fucking shelf,
dude. You would be very surprised on some of the stuff when it comes to, because
they buy money. My wife collects star notes.
All right.
The star notes that comes on money, I don't know if they're reprints or something stupid like that.
I'm not a money collector, but yeah. I have an idea.
If she was here watching this, she'd probably be commenting right now. Something.
Jess actually says, she says it only had 2 scratches on it.
Who said that?
My wife.
Oh,
he'd be mad if I didn't correct that. He says.
What did?
She says originally it said it only had 2 scratches on it, and then she changed it to the right 2. She spelled 2 T-O and then said T-W-O.
I got mad at her because when she spells shit wrong, I'm like, hey yo,
right?
Yeah, dude,
I get it.
She's
I'm the worst speller.
He's bad.
He's
the worst sounder outer too.
I get it, man. I am so happy that with talk to text, it autocorrects everything. It makes it good.
Right.
Like I'm the worst.
Sometimes it fucks it up real bad too.
Well, yeah, and I'll be honest, I don't correct it. So,
yeah, fuck it. Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah, duck that shit.
Chuck says he collects 1970s adult films on VHS.
I believe that. Chuck would.
Dude, she had fucking 4-inch hairs on her cooter, bro. I'll tell you what.
He says, Ron says, yeah, he's been saying my last name wrong this whole time. I have.
What?
Ron Purdy.
Oh, it's Purty.
Yeah, I've been calling him Ron Purdy.
It's real Purdy, man. I'll tell you what.
Because it's it's P-U-R-T-T. Purty.
Purty, baby. How did you almost die?
Oh man,
I want to hear the whole.
All right, so I had an organ explode in me, and the same
your gall or
appendix.
Yeah,
and you're supposed to basically die after 12 hours. I made it 3 days till my legs quit working, and then went in, and I lost quite a few organs. I got the old school C-section style scar from it, so it looks like I had a C-section back in like 1984. But I mean, it's yeah, they even had a wrap around my belly button. It's pretty fucking gnarly looking. It's not good, but yeah, it was pretty bad. It was yeah. You can see the inspiration with some of my horror writing, with a lot of the stuff that I've had to deal with in life in general, and the horrific things that I have had to witness before.
So what the okay. Humor me.
Go ahead.
I will humor away.
So my I think one of my cousins had her appendix I think it was getting inflamed and about to explode.
Yes.
And this motherfucker couldn't walk.
Yes.
Like it hurt so bad, right?
Yes.
And they took it out way before it exploded.
Yeah.
You know, they took it out.
It
was all good.
It
She's
gets
fine.
painful.
Right. So, you know.
I have a very high pain
Did
tolerance.
it fucking hurt?
Yeah, it hurt like fucking hell for a few days.
I know those 3 days. I understand that it's gonna hurt, but like before that, when it was getting inflamed in your
it hurt like fucking.
So
hell,
what the fuck did you So what'd you think to yourself?
Man, I fucked up.
What happened? Like what happened? My side hurts. What the fuck?
Right.
That's all you thought for 3 days.
At the time, this was a long time ago, to be fair.
What age?
Man, oh God. It had to have been 8-9 years ago. So
now you're 33 now?
Yeah.
So you
like
would have
24, 25 in there. And
you were on your own?
Yeah.
Living by yourself?
Yeah.
And you had no
lot
wife
of drinking. No, I met my wife after. But no.
If you would have had a wife, you would have been okay.
That or she would have told me to suck it up and quit being a bitch.
Okay, dude, you just sounded just like my wife. I'm married a wife just like mine. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's poison when it blows up. Correct.
Oh, yeah. And then things start seeping out and you pretty much go into like a sepsis. It just infects every little thing inside of you. Like you
were walking around doing whatever the fuck you had to do.
I went to work and everything.
With a busted appendix.
Yes.
For 3 days.
Yes. Yeah. It like the point when I went to the hospital is like literally I could feel myself like almost being paralyzed. My legs literally quit working. And when that happened, I was like, all right, I gotta go to the hospital.
What happened that day? The day where you had to go to the hospital?
Well, the pain wasn't as bad because I couldn't feel as much.
You were going numb because you were fucking dying, dude.
Yeah, I was according to a lot of my family members, I was very yellow. Basically everything was shutting down.
Jaundice as fuck. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to the hospital and to say the least, I had I think it was a 6 or 7 hour surgery. And I was from the time I walked in to the time I was under was less than an hour. It was that bad. Yeah.
They were like, dude, you should have been dead 2 days ago.
Yeah. They do. They took out quite a bit, dude, including a third of my intestines. So I mean, yeah, it was nasty.
My dad had a similar situation with diverticulitis, which is pockets in your intestine and they expand, and his burst inside of him also.
Yeah,
my dad's got a high pain tolerance, and that man had to be carried to the car and carried into the hospital. He couldn't walk.
Yeah, I had to have a wheelchair to get into the hospital.
Okay,
it was bad.
7 hour surgery. 7. Okay. 7 hour surgery. You wake up. What did they do inside there for 7 hours?
Well, I don't know. I was all wrapped up. I couldn't cough without extreme pain. I had a stick keep stuck there. I was on Dilaudid with a 3-second timer. The pain was that intense. If you've ever had any surgery, you know exactly how serious
I know
something
exactly.
is
I know
when
exactly.
You're that kind of medicine.
Yeah.
They
had me on that shit when the 3-second, when I had I had a screw in my head for a brain injury, and with all the burn wounds and shit, they had me fucking wasted, bro.
Oh yeah. It felt good for a while.
Yeah, I didn't feel shit for a month, dude.
I spent about a month in the hospital recovering before I got home. I remember waking up and my dad was like, "They took one of your nuts." Like my dad's a dick, dude.
My dad would do the same fucking thing, dude.
So like the first thing I'm doing is like checking myself, like, oh my God, I'm good. You liar, because you're like half out of it and everything. You're all drugged up. So
dude, our fucking situations are traumatic events. both coincide because your dad said you don't have a nut no more.
Don't tell me you really don't have a
No,
nut.
I do. It's beautiful.
I'll take your word for it.
I got burned real bad. My friend put me out, but it was my legs got real burnt. The back of my legs where I was sitting on the bike because it blew up when I wrecked. He came into the room and it was just him and the doctor, and he was like, "Doc, I put this light out, or I put this fire out. You gotta let me know, is his dick burnt?" And the doc lifted up the fucking thing, and he said, "That's a good dick. I did good." And he was happy for the rest of the day because he knew I was going to be alive, and he knew that I didn't have no burns on my private parts.
Right,
like,
that's all that matters. Right.
Wow, good friend, dude.
Well, let's be honest. That is a good friend.
Yeah. Oh, if he wouldn't have saved me, if he wouldn't have put that fire out, they said like 30 seconds I would have been, because I got 39% third-degree burns on my body. Damn. So they said,
and all of it missed your dick.
Yeah, it's all the back of my legs.
That's the important part.
Yeah, it's because it's so little, it hides.
I'm so glad you made that joke, because I wanted to so
You were about to fry me?
Dude, I was sitting here going, no, don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't
do it.
It's hard to burn something when it's away, you know, right. It's gone, you know. But that's what we were talking about, my small penis.
Yeah.
Burn. What was I getting?
We were talking about
seconds, it would have been 100%. Yeah. I would have been third-degree burn 100%. It would have been no chance of survival.
Damn.
So he put me out within probably, they said I probably burned, there was a 15-foot flame for about 40 seconds. Damn. And that's what got the initial burn. But the next 30, because my body was on fire at that point. So it would have been the whole body. I would have got engulfed. I would have just been man on fire running down the street. I wouldn't have been running, but yeah.
Damn, that's insane though, man. You're lucky they saved your dick though. I mean,
I know, right? My butthole wasn't burnt, dude. My ass ain't burnt, nothing.
Well, I mean, who gives a fuck about that? Your dick's fine.
Yeah, I know. Everything else was fine. And they said it would have been fucking ridiculous. The pain down there would have been ridiculous.
I can imagine. Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have been able to walk for a while.
Like, have you ever touched yourself after like cutting jalapenos? That pain is enough to fucking make you cry.
Yeah. Oh, dude, in like the football locker room, you'd put icy hot on somebody's gooch.
Oh god,
it was the worst thing ever, dude. Like, why is this so?
That's
so
a fucking
cold?
dick move.
That's a
straight dick move.
Dude. Mm-hmm. You get it right in the back of the nuts, dude.
Oh,
why is it so cold? Yeah, it's the worst. So, do you watch all your horror movies at nighttime?
I'll be honest, I watch them all the time. It doesn't matter.
Is that what you watch? Period.
For the most part, you know, like obviously I'll watch like your superhero movies or fantasy type stuff. Right. Like personally, like I'm super excited for the Lord of the Rings TV show to come out.
What?
Yeah, the Ring of Power that they're going to be doing on Amazon. It's supposed to be like one of the biggest productions as far as like money being spent on a TV show to date. And I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. You're talking like
some.
That's like straight up fucking fantasy.
Yeah. Lord of the Ring is one of my favorite.
Hell, one of my favorite series out right now is The Witcher. So if you're a video game guy and you check something like that out,
I've seen trolls on it, but I couldn't get.
I read the books and played the games growing up, so
I've heard about the games and shit, but I like kind of got into it and was a little bit distracted. And I really didn't get it. So like, it was like confusing. So I just turned it off and I seen trolls in the fucking previews for it. And I was like, dude, I would like to fucking say, I like fantasy shit like that.
It's definitely a darker fantasy. And in a way it's kind of like Game of Thrones where you're kind of jumping storylines and time frames.
Okay.
So I can see somebody getting really confused into it. As somebody who like actually went through and checked out the books, like I can follow it a little bit easier. So but I mean, if you sit down and pay attention, it's really good. You know, they got Henry Cavill, the guy who played Superman.
The Witcher is a good show for sure.
Thank you.
You like it, Josh?
Yeah, it's a good one. It's similar to Last Kingdom the way it's shot, like the production, but yes. it's a fantasy, more fantasy than reality type
How's
thing.
the special effects?
Go fucking top notch. I mean,
there's nothing cringy. There's no cringy creatures where they move all stupid and shit like that. I mean, I
A
understand
little bit, but not like what's described in the books. Like some of the stuff in the books gets a little bit darker, but they haven't got that far yet in the storyline.
Okay. Because look, when I seen Transformers, when I seen the first Transformer transform on that show.
Are you talking about the cartoon?
No, the
Michael Bay flicks?
The movie.
Okay.
Yeah, the first, like the real cool, like
All right.
real CGI with that. That's
Right.
what that's called, CGI.
Yeah. The cool one to me is the old cartoon, though.
I like the cartoons. I like the cartoons. You're old junkie though, so that's not you're biased. But I liked it when I got to see fucking Bumblebee transform, like, and you could see all the gears moving it, like.
Oh yeah,
I was like, wow, and like when I first started seeing that, I was like, dude, they can't do all characters like. If it's like a fucking weird character, they're gonna fuck it up somehow, you know. And they do
they do a great job. Fuck, look at like the Star Wars stuff coming out, like Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett.
Star Wars.
Mandalorian is legit.
I am covered in Star Wars.
Yeah,
tats,
I Lord of the Rings is my Star Wars. When people say like, "Oh, dude, you want Star?" No, I don't want Star Wars. But the trilogy that I followed was Lord of the Rings because that was just the one I liked.
T-Rip, you would like Mandalorian.
Well, you know that Peter Jackson, the guy who did like the Lord of the Rings and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, he started off on new horror. Like, check out stuff like Meet the Feebles, Dead Alive. I mean, the dude started off doing like he was the one who did Frighteners with Michael J. Fox.
Did he really?
Yeah. Peter Jackson is incredibly into that horror realm.
No way.
They're actually supposed to be doing a restoration of Meet the Feebles, which is one of my favorite, most fucked up musicals ever. It's like a raunchy puppet show kind of gone fucking crazy movie, but I mean he's great. Yeah, and but he started with even doing horror.
No shit.
Yeah.
Do you like Rob Zombie?
Music.
You don't
some
like the
movies. Some of them.
What do you like the Devil's Rejects?
Devil's Rejects was good.
I don't consider that a horror film.
It is definitely a horror film. It's my favorite new age horror film.
It's definitely.
I don't consider it a horror film. I consider it like
as good though.
The what?
I don't think Three from Hell was as
no.
good.
3 from Hell was trash.
Yeah.
And I also honestly I didn't even like the first one.
House of a Thousand Corpses.
I wasn't a fan of House of a Thousand Corpses.
That was all right. That was all right. The Devil's Reject was great because I got Captain Spaulding, the actual like a portrait tattooed on me.
Nice.
Devil's Rejects is when I saw that movie, it was like
Hey,
okay, horror
I
like
that guy.
He's dead now, but
I know he just died recently.
He was a super nice guy too.
Was he? Did you meet him?
Well, I go to horror cons all the time.
So he was always there.
Yeah.
So we got another buddy. They made a movie named Slop. You ever see that one?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, local guys. You'll have to check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's a little short horror film.
It's about 40 minutes.
Oh yeah, that's definitely not bad. This is your basic kind of short film. Yeah.
Yeah. So are they? What is the like? Is it anything under an hour as a short film?
Well, they've changed it over the time. I'm not 100% sure where it is now, but it's usually in between like 58 minutes, like 65 minutes is like that's when you go from like a short to a feature type thing. So it just depends. Like I can see it changing now. Like basically almost every other feature that's coming out nowadays is like 2 to 3 hours long. Like even the new Batman film is supposed to be, I think, 3 hours long.
What about Ash versus Evil Dead?
I've actually I had Dana De Lorenzo on before, who plays Kelly Maxwell on Ash versus Evil Dead, and what a fucking delight she was. She was awesome. I'm a huge Sam Raimi fan. Well, in fact, Sam Raimi, the guy who directed that movie, Evil Dead, Army of Darkness, all those, Drag Me to Hell, even he's the one that did the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, and he's the one that's doing the new Doctor Strange as well. So even a lot of the stuff that you're probably excited to see is done by people who started off in horror.
The Tobey Maguire ones were good.
The first two.
I like the newest one, the new one.
I like the Tom
Holland's
Tom Holland. Yeah, I like that guy.
Not to be confused with Tom Holland, the producer of Tales from the Crypt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Chuck Daniels says The Devil's Reject is Zombie's best movie. I love all his shit besides Halloween 2, but he can't create endings worth of shit.
His
I'll-
remakes of the Halloween movies were really, really rough.
You didn't like them?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not a fan of those
See,
at all.
but for real, the Devil's Rejects, I don't consider it horror. I consider it like a sadistic kind of like
Well,
less
but that
than-
also kind of fits under the
I guess
horror
it's
realm.
in the
You know?
realm, but
Like, look at what you were talking about with I Spit on Your Grave. It's a subgenre of horror, but it's not
I
really
even
a
asked you. I
horror
even
film.
asked you if it was horror because I think that's in the same realm as the
Right.
Devil's
But
Rejects.
look at
maybe?
the story itself. It's
like a
fucking
psychotic.
horrific.
It's like a psychotic movie, like a
Psychological
thriller. That's what
Yeah.
that's
which is still a subgenre of horror.
Yep.
I guess you play with their mind. The only way to make a
Right.
success
Like
And what's
Saw
more
was
scary
what
than
horror
playing with
film
somebody's head?
is to play with somebody's. Yeah, you got, and then
The psychological ones are my favorites.
psychological ones. I feel like those are psychological movies, though.
Yeah.
When it's more, because I understand the horror, you need some of that psychological to fuck with their mind.
Oh yeah.
Because horror, I worked in a haunted house for a long time, and I realized all you need to do to scare people is overload their senses
Oh yeah.
and then jump in their face and scream.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. But
Bang on shit. There's
yeah.
shit. Why is there shit over here? Dude, I'm grabbing something and throwing it over here. You know, you're hearing shit over there. I'm, whatever. I'm
Right.
knocking shit over and stuff. They're thinking that a whole bunch of shit's going on way over here. And I jump out of their face right here. That's it.
Right.
Overload of senses. Oh my God. There's, oh
Right.
my God. Oh my God.
Right.
I got some guy banging on a window right here. And he never scares.
Well, it's the
He's
same
banging
thing.
away.
That's what we call cheap jump scares.
Yeah. That's
That's I've learned that from through the haunted house too, because I know some people can do sadistic shit too.
right.
So you put the sadistic stuff and then the jump scare, like
You're right. The jump scare enhances it, but
Mhm.
like
Your
not
attractions-
doubting anybody or like trying to change anybody's opinion on. But my personal thing with jump scares, it's kind of like it's a lazy way to get the scare because you're gonna for sure get it with the jump scare. You're gonna get that like type situation with a jump scare. But when you can get into somebody's head and really fuck with them and make them
Yes.
think, that's like you're putting more thought behind the scare.
more imagination into it.
real
too.
life, like that movie, the new Joker movie. That movie made me think. It actually showed you the psychology of how someone could become the Joker. Like that movie is one of my favorite movies that have come out in a long time, as in like within the last 5 to 10 years.
That wasn't bad at all. And Joaquin Phoenix, I mean, he look at the actor you had playing it though. It wouldn't have worked as good with anybody else.
I agree.
You're right.
I agree.
You're right.
That was the only reason I think that movie worked at the level it did. I think that one was supposed to be getting a sequel too, wasn't it?
It should, but just like Batman Begins, I like to watch the story of how did this person become.
Right. Well, unfortunately, they've told the origin story for Batman so many times. Like, when are we going to get to see Batman from the comic books where he's not a full-blown superhero and you get more of the detective side? Because that's what it was all about back in the day. So, I mean, there's a lot missing from a lot of those stories that we get.
But you're trying to captivate audiences, and they don't really. I mean,
Right.
not everybody's
Well, I mean,
that.
when you
kind of
hear the
thinker.
comic book guys going up in uproar over films, that's the reason why. They change certain things to make it palpable
For
to-
everybody.
Yeah, for everybody, but you're not paying that real tribute to what the source material is.
Ron says the new Batman movie is more detective than superhero.
Yeah, that's what I hear. And by the way, the best Joker ever is fucking Mark Hamill. I'm going to throw that out there right away.
Oh,
I don't know
Batman the animated series.
Oh, okay. I got you. Yep.
you're
Yeah.
right.
He nailed that voice so much better than
I
anybody
do
else.
because that's the voice that I think of.
Right. Luke
when I think
Skywalker
of-
killed it.
Yep. He did.
That's him.
Yes.
Yeah.
I still hate Star
Yeah.
Wars.
He also did the voice of the newer Chucky movie as well.
I still hate Star Wars.
You can dislike it all you want to.
But what's that guy's name?
Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill.
Right.
You're a cool dude.
If you want a reason to hate Star Wars, watch the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Oh, shit.
Ron will agree with me on that. It's not. I don't think it's horrible, but it's it could be worse. And
I watched. I think I don't know which one I watched, but the movie started out and they were riding hovercrafts in the desert.
that happens in a few of them.
The movie would start out like that.
Well, I mean, like you get that whole scene on Tatooine with episode 4, and that's like the first one. And you also get that kind of same scene in episode 1.
Were they in the woods?
They were in the desert.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that might even be episode 1 you saw.
Yeah.
That was it, and that's why I didn't like it. Then that was it.
So a lot of people
then watch one of the good ones.
Yeah. A lot of people don't like the first one.
Is that what you're saying?
I'm not gonna say it's shit. It tells a good story, but I mean, like when you like, because like with when this turned around really weird. So it's
talking about horror now.
Now you're gonna Star Wars.
Star Wars sucks.
So like with your original trilogy of Star Wars, you're getting the story of Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader. Personally, if you want my personal opinion on the best one, check out episode 5. But that's my personal opinion. Episodes 4, 5, and 6 were the first ones to come out. And then in the 90s, they started off with the prequels, episodes 1, 2, and 3, which told the story of Anakin Skywalker being a little boy, the one you saw, and him doing the pod racing stuff in the desert. But over those 3 episodes, he goes from being Anakin Skywalker to Darth Vader. And then you get the newer one.
Wait,
it's a fucking dude.
That is why I absolutely love the first 3, because what I just say, I love to see how they become. Exactly. And the first 3 show you exactly how Darth Vader becomes.
Right. And if you even want to go deeper into it,
what? So that those first 3, I thought
that little boy is Darth Vader.
That first 3 is the making of Darth Vader, and then the next 3 is Darth Vader fucking with him.
No, the next 3 is Luke's rise,
his son.
Yeah, his son, Luke Skywalker.
But he's
is Anakin Skywalker's son, who is Darth Vader.
Luke, I am your father, right?
Yes. Yes.
I'm so sorry I'm ruining it for you guys.
No, you're good. You're good. And then it goes even deeper with the Emperor's role and everything with going with the newer trilogy. And then you got all the standalone films. You get the 2 that everybody forgets about, the 2 Ewok movies, which are just about the Ewoks and none of the Jedis are really in it. And they're fucking really cool movies. One of my favorite actors ever does a lot of stuff as the Ewoks, Warwick Davis. He also played Leprechaun, and he was in one of the greatest fantasy films of all time, Willow. Great fucking actor. But you got those. You even got like Rogue One. They did the Solo. There's so many stories that you can break and put into there. So I mean, if you really want to see the entire story of Star Wars and really, like, you can't say I don't like Star Wars when you watch one of them. You can say
I watched 13 minutes of the first one.
Exactly. Tell me you don't like Star Wars after you watched every film and like in sequence.
Well, and then even the Mandalorian, it covers all grounds from all of them. It plays a little bit on everything.
Right. But even with the Mandalorian, you're getting like in the middle of the story there. Because I mean, with Boba Fett and stuff, like coming out of the Sarlacc pit, that's fucking insane. Like I'm still trying to wrap my head over that, dude, after going the majority of my life thinking he was dead. And going back to what I said originally, Boba Fett's first appearance was actually as a cartoon in the Star Wars holiday special. So he didn't even start off as a main character. He was a cartoon in one segment. I'm pretty sure everybody who watches this is going to be like, wow, you guys just had a real big fucking nerd on your show.
No doubt.
No, because I know people that are totally like rappers and shit that love Star Wars.
Star Wars
like
is great,
people
man.
be doing anything. Motherfuckers be business owners, love Star Wars and shit. I just literally watched 13 minutes in my tiny little brain at that time. I was like, that's stupid.
When we get done with this, I'll show you my leg. I have the entire Death Star on my leg. I mean, I'm that big of a fan. Like it is, there's so much to Star Wars that it's crazy. You know, I will say the prequels weren't as good because like George Lucas was able to create a world that is great. That was what he was good at. The prequels with 1, 2, and 3, those were the only ones where he actually told the entire story with it. The writing for all the other ones were actually done as a collective team. So that's why those ones are a little bit lacking, even though you're getting some really cool transformation of seeing the character development. The actual story in the other ones, I think, is a little bit stronger.
Why does so little Anakin Skywalker, the little blonde boy, right?
Yeah.
In the movie I seen.
Yes.
That's Darth Vader.
Yes.
Luke's was he
Luke is his son.
I know.
He was a
twins.
moisture farmer on Tatooine.
Anakin?
Well, listen,
Luke
T,
was.
since this movie's been out for fucking 30 years,
fucking almost 50.
yeah. So what happens is Anakin Skywalker was being trained to be a Jedi, right? So then he falls in love with a queen. So the queen and him end up having twins. Well, during this birth, the queen ends up dying. He goes full fucking rage mode and just destroys everybody, starts hating everybody, and then there you go. Now that is basically how
he wants to use the dark side because, like, to even get in even deeper,
he's one of the best Jedis that have ever lived.
Right. Well, I mean,
how
Yoda was
because
definitely
he was training.
Well, even Yoda said that was that they said that he had more count, you know, whatever that count is, metachlorian count than Yoda even did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that like, I mean, if you go really deep into the Star Wars lore and everything, I mean, you can go like as far as like Darth Revan and Darth Bane, which I mean, you're going back into Star Wars lore, which is technically, I think, considered legacies and not so much canon anymore since Disney bought it. But I mean, you had characters that were able to basically make people live again.
Oh, damn. I don't know anything about those guys.
You know, yeah. So, I mean, and like, Star Wars is just insane, dude. When you really get into it, man.
And then you didn't even talk about the books.
Yeah.
You've just been talking about the movies.
Yeah. You want to talk about books, man? I mean, you're talking a lot of fucking books.
So Anakin's growing up and he's training to be a Jedi the entire time.
Yes.
And he's one of the best Jedis they've ever seen.
Yes.
And his wife dies during.
But Yoda had always said he senses the dark. It was fear.
Right.
Fear leads to anger.
He was scared. He was scared.
Well, Palpatine was feeding him the whole time and building his trust.
Who's Palpatine?
He's the Emperor.
He's the bad guy. He's the evil genius.
The ugly guy with the hood on?
Yes.
Okay.
There you go.
So
he was pretty much building his trust the entire time and kind of like leading him on that.
Why is he the Emperor? What is that?
That's just the title they kind of gave him. He's like basically like the Sith thing goes in like the power of 2. So he had other people below him at different times, like General Grievous, Darth Maul.
He was the dark side.
So just so you know, the Sith is an evil Jedi.
Yes. The opposite of a Jedi.
Correct.
And with the power of 2 and everything, he basically was able to get Anakin to start killing the people below him to get to the point of where he was like, okay, murdering and being this kind of person and following his orders with everything. And then was able to convince him that with the dark side, he would be able to save life, which in the books and stuff is true. We don't get to see that in actually any of the films or anything, but that's how he kind of gets him to switch over into the dark side because he thinks he's able to save the woman he loves, who is dying from, which is one of the worst parts about that story, is she's dying from pretty basically heartbreak.
Yep. Because he's turning evil and she can feel it and knows it.
That lady,
and then he turns on his master. He turns on his master, and his master handles him, and that's why he's got fake arms and legs and has that breathing treatment.
Obi-Wan Kenobi basically burnt him into a lava pit and got rid of his arms and legs, and that Darth Vader's basically a
robot.
He's like RoboCop in a way, with a cooler suit.
Obi-Wan Kenobi killed him. Or
no,
almost killed him.
He got rid of his arms and legs.
Which why it's ironic that he does that. He gets rid of Luke Skywalker's arm.
Yes. Crazy story. Interesting, huh?
You would like it now as an adult. I know you would.
It's deeper than you give it credit for. That's for sure.
So all this is about a man that gets mad about his wife dying, giving birth. Where does Luke Skywalker go?
Okay, so
Luke Skywalker
yeah,
is
go
one of
ahead.
the twins, and so is Princess Leia. They're being born at that time. After they're born, she dies.
And then
He fucks his sister?
no,
They don't fuck.
Oh.
no,
They
the
kissed one
mom.
time, but that was because you got to keep in mind that's episode 4. Episode 4, 5, and 6 were actually filmed beforehand. Luke and Leia weren't officially brother and sister till the next film. Like it wasn't even determined that was how it was.
So
gonna be.
what happened? What happened was when the woman gave birth and died, Obi-Wan and the Jedis took the babies and split them and sent them to different galaxies. So they never knew about
Because
each other.
they knew Darth Vader was going on a tirade? They
There you
knew he
go.
was going to be a tyrant. He fell in love with another chick after this chick died?
No,
That was the one that died?
that
From
was
because she
his
knew
only love.
he was going evil.
Yes,
And because Yoda sensed it, or because he was just starting
she
to
was
be...
able to sense it, which is kind of weird that because they don't really talk about her being force sensitive in any way. But yeah,
She was that in love with him that she could sense the change in his mindset.
She was like, I'm going to push these babies out and die. Okay, so she dies. He goes to the Dark Lord when he's super sad. And Dark Lord says he can...
He- right. In fact, the Emperor uses that and
Wait.
tries to get Luke to kill Vader before he realizes that it is his father, and he's trying to get him to basically turn Luke to the dark side to replace his own father. It's a fucked up story, dude. Kylo Ren. Yes, play Adam Driver's character in it.
That's...
Yes. That's the baby of Han Solo and Leia.
Han Solo's the guy with the Yeti.
Yeah, Chewie.
Chewie.
He's Chewbacca. He's a Wookiee. That's the race. yeah. Star Wars, man.
Dude, if you guys want to know about Star Wars, tune in to Pillar Talk. That's all we talk about. We talk about horror shit for about 25 minutes. Then we talk about Star Wars for the rest. And what's the other 3 movies then? About how Luke Skywalker destroys?
The other stories really aren't about Luke Skywalker as much as they're about the Emperor. So you get oh god, I can't even think of her name right now. It's been a while. I'm not as big of a fan as the newer ones as I am the originals. But
you like the original 3?
Yeah, 4, 5, and 6.
What?
The original.
That's what I'm talking about. 4, 5, and 6.
Yes,
After
yes.
3, 4, and 5. 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
So 4, 5, and 6 is Luke Skywalker.
Yes. That's
And
the good part of the
he's
story.
the one that takes over or blows up the Death Star.
Yes.
And that's the end of Darth Vader.
No. That only happens in the first one. You know what? I'm gonna have to let you borrow all my Star Wars movies and like really let you sit down and check them out.
Well, the number 4, 5, and 6 was taped before 1, 2, and 3. What the fuck? That's weird.
Well, he did it because of CGI and computers. He knew that what he wanted to do for the first 3 weren't up to par for what the
Basically
the technology wasn't where he wanted it to
Hell,
be.
he wasn't even happy with 4, 5, and 6. That's why he remastered them. Even when he sold the rights over to Disney and gave that for what, like $4.5 billion, he didn't sell them the original versions of the movies either. They only were able to get the remastered versions. So Disney didn't even get the original versions of Star Wars with that deal.
So 4, 5, and 6 is the making of Luke. Is Luke's? You said 1, 2, and 3 are the first ones, but
1, 2, and 3 is more about Anakin's story growing up and turning into Darth Vader.
But that's before 4, 5, and 6, of course, right?
Yes.
Okay, so in the timeline of the story, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But the way they came out to the public, it was 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9.
Yes. So basically, the original trilogy, 4, 5, and 6, is about Luke and his father. The prequels, 1, 2, 3, is about Anakin basically going to the dark side and turning into Darth Vader.
So the very first Star Wars that we got to see was Episode 4.
Yes. Back in, I believe,
they
78.
released their first Star Wars movie as Episode 4.
Yeah, and then they waited almost 20 years to make Episode 1. Yeah. And then the 7, 8, and 9 is basically the story of the Emperor and his daughter, or great granddaughter, or whatever, granddaughter. But yeah,
I don't like that show, that movie, just because of this.
it's too much thinking. There's a lot going on.
Why the fuck are we watching Episode 4 first? What is this?
Well, it depends. If I were you, and considering you haven't seen them all, I say watch them in regular order: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
That's the way they're supposed to be watched.
Yeah.
Thanks, Star Wars,
And
for
don't get me
ruining
wrong,
the way
it's
we
gonna
view
be hard to
movies.
get past 13 minutes on Episode 1. Episode 1 is hands down the weakest of all of them. But
Story, that's why it's story building.
yeah.
Story building is boring, but it's also
Right.
very.
Did you ever watch the extended cuts of Lord of the Rings?
I don't think
Like
so.
the 4.5-hour versions?
Hell no.
Okay, never mind. I was gonna say you really learn a lot about story building when you watch those.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. You
'Cause
thought
a
they
lot of
walked
people-
a lot in the original.
A lot of people think that the first one is like they drag out like it for like where they're starting it's like real boring because there's no war. It's just building the story. There's no like crazy war. There's some
Same
battle.
thing with Episode 1 of Star Wars.
Okay. And then the second one is fucking war.
The second one's when you get into the Clone Wars. That's when it goes fucking batshit crazy, and it just gets further.
Clone
with
Wars are
Episode
those
3.
little white dudes, the white
The clones, yeah, which are actually all replicas of Jango Fett, who is Boba Fett's dad. But Boba Fett's dad is like
they're
it's weird.
cloned from Boba Fett's dad.
Yeah, well, Boba Fett's dad isn't really even his dad because Jango Fett is the guy who they were all cloned after. Boba Fett was a clone of Jango Fett as well, but didn't age rapidly like the clones did for the clone troopers. So Boba Fett is actually a clone of Jango Fett. He doesn't really technically have a dad. He's a test tube baby.
Yeah, fuck him. Who's Jabba the Hutt? Jabba the Hutt.
Jabba the Hutt. He's one of the Hutts. He's basically what you would say is like
Pimp?
if you're into like mafia type movies, he's a crime lord, if you will.
Works for the Emperor.
T-Rup's wife has something to say. She says his brain is working hard right now.
Hey, Josh, time my wife out from the comments, please. Thank you. Hey, she'll yell at me later, but I'll take that. Just time her out.
Right.
I don't want to be yelled at by her.
A lot,
So Jabba the Hutt is a mob boss.
Basically.
Because I remember seeing him one time and there was a lot of girls around him.
Yeah. That's when you get to see Leia in that very iconic slave outfit.
Beautiful.
She hot?
Shh, don't take my word for it.
Hey,
Josh.
When other women dressed like Princess Leia in that outfit, prime A+.
Yeah.
Slave clothes? You heard it first here on Brain Jerk, bitches. Where's slave clothes?
Star Wars slave clothes.
Star Wars slave clothes. Talk to Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, Star Wars is a crazy thing like that. Nothing like the story building in the new Texas Chainsaw, though.
There wasn't a story in that.
Not compared to the original Toby Hooper film.
That was the original one. I didn't. I think I watched that this summer in Florida.
The original ones,
the old school.
I would say that would kind of borderlines on your psychological
where they're in the
thriller.
basement.
Yeah. Well, there's
We're
no
not
gore
the
in
basement, but like
it's all
in
fucking implied.
in the like the underground tunnel thing
Yeah.
where their little hut is. Okay, I like that one. I watched that one for the first time this summer.
The original
Florida.
was like what in the 70s. I mean, there's been what 2, 3. They did the beginning. I mean, Texas Chainsaws had so many different things too.
Do I like the beginning? Did
Probably
I watch
not.
that? No.
I don't know. You might have.
I like the one where
I'm
the
a fan of the
sheriff was
original.
that asshole.
He usually always is. An
I know,
asshole in
but
that
like
kind of movie.
he's like a drill sergeant in a lot of movies.
Hmm.
You fucking.
I bet as we're talking about it, I bet Ron Pertee is going to join in and say something, and he'll know exactly which character you're thinking of.
What underground tunnel? And then he says the original TCM was in 1974.
Yeah, that one. The one, not the tunnel. They had like a basement.
I told you he would say something.
They had a basement dug out or something
Gunny.
under their house, right?
He said Gunny.
Gunny.
Yeah,
That's
that
the
guy.
case.
Yes.
Yeah,
That was my favorite. I like that one.
yeah. All of them were good. Except for like these. I don't really care for a lot of the newer ones with
This
it.
this newest one, trash. If it goes by storytelling, all that happens is old lady dies from a heart attack or whatever, and dude goes on a rampage.
You're gonna piss off all of your audience spoiling a movie that hasn't been out for a week.
Dude, don't watch. Watch it if you want. Don't watch it though.
The story on it's like not the greatest, that's for sure. But I will say the original source and basis of all of that is definitely one of my favorite true crime stories. The story of Ed Gein. It's all based off of Ed Gein. Same thing with Silence of the Lambs.
He was
based
Leatherface.
off of him.
There was a Leatherface in history.
Well, he didn't go by Leatherface, but yes, Leatherface is the character made for film.
Did he? Oh, to make it scarier.
Yeah.
Did he wear faces though?
Well, he had skin suits. He would. He didn't. I think he only killed one person, but majority of it was him digging up bodies and using bodies. So, like Norman Bates' Psycho, that's based off of him. Silence of the Lamb is also based off of him, and so is Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
But they have nothing to do with him getting cadavers out of like dead people out of the ground.
They gotta change it up a little bit
to make it more sadistic and more entertainment.
Yes. But the real life story behind Ed Gein is definitely a fascinating one.
So Buffalo Bill is also Ed Gein.
Well, I mean, when you're talking Silence of the Lamb stuff, it's more about like your Hannibal Lecter type thing, eating people.
Did he eat dead people?
You got to try a little bit of it.
No, did he? Did he though? For real?
Well, I mean, like I don't personally know. I wasn't there, but like they say yes. There were lampshades made out of human flesh. There were masks. Like he definitely was into taxidermy, and he was able to take that taxidermy skill and use it towards human flesh.
All right, and then he made decorations with it.
Yeah. In fact, I think Zach Baggins was one of the guys that purchased a lot of the stuff that was on there, like after the fact. Yeah.
Buffalo Bill and Lecter were both inspired by Gein for sure.
Really?
Yeah.
The whole
family of the original chainsaw were grave robbers. Ed Gein killed 2 people.
Oh, was off by 1.
Yeah.
Quit fucking up and giving fucking
Hey,
false.
I bet you can guess who this is that I'm reading from.
It's either Ron or Chuck. Both of them are
it's
huge
definitely
fans.
Ron.
Both of yeah. We're all
Uncle
my horror group. We're a bunch of fucked up individuals into really scary fucked up shit.
What's up, Michigan native?
And that's just being modest.
Who was behind writing the comic? Just you?
No, me, Ron, Chuck, and Drew is doing the artwork.
So
my little group of friends. Ron is a close friend of mine for a while. Chuck's my co-host. We kind of wanted to release this under like a Tales from the Podcast type name. That's how we were coming up with things. And we wanted to be very reminiscent of Tales from the Crypt. And when we were sitting there thinking about it, you know, they have things like shock suspense stories, crime suspense stories, you know, things that are just, you know, horrific. And, you know, they'd always talk about terror, fear, horror. So, I mean, we were sitting there talking about it. And I was talking with a good friend of mine who runs Hall of Fame Comics out in Florida. And he and I were basically able to come up with the concept of tales of shock and terror, and it being completely reminiscent of the EC comic books from the 50s and going for that whole horror feel. And that's at least how
real
yeah,
fucking the horror that's gonna get
the real horror
well,
show.
I don't want to tell your audience every little thing, because I definitely want people to check out the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And just so people are curious about that, if they are, that's available on my website over at talesfromthepodcast.com. If you scroll down, there's pictures of all the covers right there. And Drew, the artist who runs Panic Terror Films, made a small little commercial for us as well, which I know that you guys were sharing earlier for us, which is awesome. We greatly appreciate that. But if you guys go and click any of those pictures, it'll take you right over to the Kickstarter, and you guys can actually see and get a good visualization of like every little thing that we're doing with this.
So how do
I'll give you a teaser though afterwards, so you can talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
How because I think I want to do all 4 covers. Just I mean, it's the first comic book you guys came up with, so maybe, you know, like one day I'll be like,
that would be awesome. I would appreciate that.
That's what I think it's cool, but I want every cover, because like when you said the bathroom one is one of your favorite covers. Yeah, but it's one of the rare covers, and then you said, "Well, you can get a bundle of all." That's what I want, the bundle.
Right. Well, that's what we're trying to entice people to do, is just because, you know, like, yeah, you're getting a deal. It's helping us out too, and I mean, who doesn't like a deal to begin with?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And yeah, those covers, B, C, and D, are only going to be basically limited to, for the most part, here.
Yeah,
for the Kickstarter.
So what I was gonna do, what I was gonna do is just get one of them. Is what my original plan was. I'm just gonna get one, you know, because I want to, you know. And then you said the deal. I was like, well, why not? If I'm paying 10 for one, you know, why not fucking buy fucking
I mean,
all 4 for $25?
Well,
you know, and then like, because at that point I'm getting a fucking hella deal.
Right.
I'm getting these bitches for fucking $7 a piece, you know.
And the cool thing with Kickstarter is, like, you can see when the end date is. The end date is going to be around April 2nd. And for your audience who doesn't know about Kickstarter, because I mean, I've had to
I don't know either. So
I've had to explain this to 100 people lately. Kickstarter doesn't give me anything till after they collect.
Okay.
Kickstarter doesn't collect the money from anybody until the Kickstarter ends. So around April 2nd, it'll give you like a week and a half to have the funds in your account, and then it will take it out then. So even if you don't have the money now, what you would do is you'd go on there, you'd make a pledge, and then would take it out at a later date when the actual comic book's getting closer to being released. So
how am I getting the comic books?
I am going to be doing everything from my house. I've already purchased all of the Gemini boxes, which is industry standard for doing any kind of comic book shipping. It's basically wrapping it in cardboard so nothing can happen to it. I've already purchased all the bags and boards, so you're going to get them professionally. And not only did I purchase them, I've actually put them all together. So I've been doing this as I go. And I mean, so as soon as they get to me, I'm going to be putting them inside the bags and boards, wrapping them up in Gemini boxes, and depending on the situation, you know, most of the time it's just going to be mailing them out to every single person.
I want to know how to get those graded.
You would have to go to like the CGC or find an event where
I gotta send them out.
And that does cost money, unfortunately, and that's kind of dependent on like how new a book is. So like for some of the older like 1950s comic books, it actually costs more to get those graded than a newer book.
And then you're risking sending them out and bending them up and stuff like that too.
Yeah. And a lot of us, especially in the horror world, don't even want to do that with those books.
Is it? What packaging is it in? Is it going to be in nice packaging?
I'm going to be throwing them out in Gemini boxes. So like, have you ever went to a store and bought a brand new comic book? It's inside of a bag with a board in the back of the bag, so it keeps the comic book nice and stiff.
That's how you're doing it?
Yeah, I'm doing it like that. And then when I'm shipping them, they're going in Gemini boxes, which is basically I put the comic book down, fold it over, fold it over, fold it over, fold it over, tape it up, send it out. So it's not going to bend. It's not going to move.
And then I can pull it out and it would be a cool thing to throw on my shelf right there.
Yes.
With the cardboard backing.
Yes, exactly.
Then I would not need to go get it graded.
No.
Or whatever.
I'm going to do it for my own personal thing, just because I think it's a cool thing.
Yeah,
you know I mean?
That's your comic book man.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
exactly.
But I just wanted it. I thought that's the only way to get the comic book to stay like that forever. So if you're going to put a cardboard back on it.
Yeah. And it'll be in a bag too. I mean, you know, I get the
is the bag loose on the comic book, or is it
no, it's made for the actual size of the comic book.
Woo!
So it's made for a current size comic book, which is 6.625 inches by 10.25 inches. So the comic book will actually fit directly in there. There'll be very little room for it to move around or anything. And that backing board's nice in there. It's 24 point stock card. So it's nice and sturdy. I basically went with the industry standard on everything for the shipping. And Gemini boxes, when I say that, for those people that are not familiar, they are basically #1 when it comes to comic book shipping materials. That is the industry standard when it comes to shipping out a comic book.
That's what you would ship your
I'm going
to go get
that's
graded.
High grade. Yes.
That's what you're going to, and you expect them to send it back in Gemini boxes. Is that what they send them back in, as Gemini boxes?
No, because when you're doing something like that, you want to make sure it's tracked. So I will actually put mine inside of a Gemini box and then put it inside of a priority mailbox and then send it out in the priority box. But inside the priority box will be a Gemini box. That's if I send it out. But that's just to keep it super safe, because if you're sending them in to be graded, you don't want as a dent changes the grade, a bump changes the grade. So you want that as super protected as possible. So for something like that, you would literally not only do that, but you'd probably wrap it in bubble wrap and then put it in the priority box.
So do you, when they send it back, what do they do? The same thing you did?
Most of the time it would be the actual slab, and it would be wrapped in bubble wrap and filled into a priority box. Yep.
Okay, so it's still safe.
Yeah, it keeps it safe. Yeah. Once it's in the slab, though, I mean, the slab is this thick and it's plastic. Like, you're not bending the book at all. It would have to be really.
Oh, they encase it in plastic?
Yeah, it's encased. Yes.
Okay, I got 2 more things for you.
Ask away, man. I'm a bug.
Plug yourself in. Everything where they can reach you, how they can get a hold of you, how they can get the comic book, everything. And then I got one more question for you.
All right. Basically, go to talesfromthepodcast.com. You want to check out the podcast? Guess what? I got a fucking player on there. You can click the episode, check it out right on the website. If you scroll down a little bit more, you'll see little pictures for Apple, Stitcher, Google, basically any kind of catcher. Click the picture. Guess what? It's going to take you right to that fucking link. You scroll down just a little bit more, you'll start seeing icons for the Kickstarter and the comic book. Click any of the pictures, click the link to the comic book. There's even an extra link there for some merch. So we have like sweaters and t-shirts and stuff like that. Yeah, I got one here. This is one of the sweaters, and we got some with some of the covers on there as well. But you know, they're Tales of Shock and Terror. It just this one's just a basic logo. But we have some with some actual of the images designed. One of the cool ones that we got printed is I actually took the time to cut out some of the panels, and I made wraparound panel shirts. So, I mean, the entire shirt is fully covered in comic book panels, which is kind of cool. But there's a link to that store on there as well. And then if you scroll down a little bit more, you'll see a link. Well, you won't even see a link. You'll see a Facebook picture for the page. You'll see a Facebook group picture, an Instagram, a Twitter picture, an email picture. Every one of those pictures is actually a link. You click that picture, it's going to send you exactly where you want to go. So I made it super easy.
And
everything
all on
is Tales from the
podcast.com.
Yes. Every little detail.
So I said, plug yourself in. All you could have said is Tales from the podcast.com.
Right. Yeah, I could have. But if I go through and say it like that, it makes it more exciting.
It makes it more, because now I know the whole entire website and I have never seen it.
Exactly.
That's cool. One more question.
Yeah. There's also that teaser video on there too. So if you want to see that, you can check it out there.
For the comic book?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
I'm going to go check it out today. Last thing to say to the world. What are you going to say?
Like, give me the situation. Last thing I'm gonna say. Like, am I dead? Like, I'm dying.
If you had one final thing to say to the world, what would it be?
You're saying to the world. What are you saying on the way out?
T-Rup, man, I'm happy your penis is okay.
That was the most personal question. That was the best answer to that question ever. On that note, dude, thank you so much for coming by. This is a great podcast. That's it for episode 101 of Pillar Talk. I love you guys. Have a wonderful night. That's awesome.